China has declared victory over the coronavirus, following 9 whirlwind months for first responders, scientists, and party officials. After denying the severity of the virus and initially underreporting numbers, Beijing now says that it can keep the pandemic at bay. For normal Chinese, life and community are slowly edging back to normal. But China's success is impossible for most nations to mimic. So overwhelming is the Communist Party's grip on its population. And while the heroic narrative may resonate domestically, abroad there's skepticism and discomfort over the blurring line between propaganda and leadership on the global stage. China's handling of the coronavirus, separating substance from show. Hello and welcome to Deutsche Welle's COVID-19 special. I'm Stephen Beardsley in Berlin. It's good to have you with us. China has seen both failures and successes in its response to a pandemic that began within its own borders. Beijing's official narrative neglects those early missteps. It's a storyline that's being firmly embraced at home.
Tiananmen Square in the heart of the Chinese capital, Beijing. The National Museum looms large. Ding Li has come here with her grandchild, Mai. The art is classic socialist realism. It honors frontline workers during the pandemic. Mai is a little shy as she poses for pictures with the heroes in the fight against the coronavirus. The theme of the exhibition? Unity is strength. The exhibition brought tears to my eyes. I love my country and the party leadership. Without the Communist Party leadership, this enormous challenge will not be overcome. The artwork leaves little room for interpretation. The message is clear. Under communist leadership, China has managed to contain the virus. Front and center, and yet somehow relegated to the sidelines, the nameless helpers who worked themselves to exhaustion to repel the pandemic. For us, even staying at home was a patriotic duty. We didn't know what the people on the front line had to sacrifice. I'm proud that China has the pandemic under control. China's leadership has cast itself as the savior of the nation and as a friend in need abroad. In the global struggle against the virus, we have acted with wisdom and strength. We have fulfilled our international duties responsibly and with transparency. In Beijing's Great Hall of the People, there is no room for doubt. And this is no time for admitting mistakes. Zhong Yanchang, the country's foremost coronavirus expert, is honored by Xi Jinping himself. Zhong features prominently in the exhibition too. Others are simply ignored. Li Wenliang sounded the alarm over the coronavirus while the authorities were still denying its existence. The doctor from Wuhan was forced to recant and forbidden to speak up again. Li contracted the disease and died. For weeks, the pandemic spread throughout the country unchecked because of the cover-up. Despite being left out of the official history, Li's story is not forgotten. An exhibition can't show everything. I think whistleblowers are pioneers and we should respect and admire them. For those unsung heroes, we should build a monument in our hearts. Official monuments are built by the Communist Party. They express no criticism, as the regime tolerates no dissent.
And I'm joined now by nisGruenberg. He's a senior analyst with the Mercator Institute for China Studies in Berlin. Nis, it's good to have you on the show. We're told that life is returning to normal in China and that the numbers are vastly improved. Can we distinguish from afar if that's really the case?
Well, I think it's fair to say that the low numbers in the single or low double digits that China is reporting are the ballpark that we are in. I mean, there's no reason to believe that while China reports a dozen new cases or so every day, there are millions of cases somewhere hidden. I think with the measures that China has developed over the last months to deal with local outbreaks and new cases coming in, it is realistic that these numbers are truthful, and that the pictures we see and also the personal reports that we get of normal life returning to Chinese cities is real.
Has this pandemic been more of an opportunity or a challenge for the party?
I think it started as a huge challenge in many regards. Governance challenge in terms of information sharing between local government and central government, a huge image damage that the government has taken there, and public trust. But the way that this has been dealt with and the effective measures, going from being the origin of this virus to really one of the best-in-class players in terms of the new cases now, has boosted the confidence of the population. And we see this in surveys that are coming out now of China, but also are verified by foreign actors, that there is more trust in the government's capacity to deal with this than before. So it started certainly as a challenge, but in terms of approval, I think it is now certainly a positive for the party state.
All right, so domestic confidence has been bolstered. What about from outside looking into China? Has China's image been improved, or has it worsened through its response to the coronavirus?
I think overall China's image is in a downwards movement right now. I'm not sure this is only due to the coronavirus itself, but certainly the whole crisis has triggered or has deepened a lot of the rifts that were apparent also before, in terms of trade, in terms of the whole technology, 5G question, the American-Chinese relation. Everything is in downward spiral, and these dynamics have been catalyzed by the corona crisis. So China has tried to market its very effective approach to curbing the virus as a system relevant capacity. So the Chinese model is better suited to deal with these crises, and that is meeting opposition abroad. And I think this is something that China will increasingly have to deal with. That there's a lot more skepticism towards China, and these attempts to market individual successes as a system, in the framework of a systemic competition. China is better suited because it has a party. This will increasingly be contested also by the European Union, by other foreign actors. So there's a challenge here that is very pressing.
At the same time, China remains a global player. It has a lot of sway when it comes to large-scale projects, global projects. How hard does that skepticism on behalf of Western governments make it for them to work with China? It's inevitable that they have to work with them, I'd imagine.
Yeah, so the reality of it is that China is now a very important partner. We can, for example, the climate issue we cannot address without China. At the same time, there's a lot more competition going on, and a lot more challenges in terms of technology, IPR, trade, and so on. And this is really it's quite crucial for China to deal, or for every one of us to deal with this. And the government, the party, really has to think well. How do they want to frame themselves as a global player? Where is it wise to submit to global standards? Where can they really push their own standards and interests and priorities? This is a very important, a very big challenge for the Chinese government to go forward. And this is a new role that China is seeing itself in. The skepticism that China is met with is growing, and this is really a new international situation for China.
All right, nisGruenberg with the Mercator Institute for Chinese Studies in Berlin. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now it's time for your questions to our science correspondent, Derek Williams.
What effect are all the masks and social distancing having on the number of influenza cases in places that have had their flu season during COVID-19?
One of the scenarios causing health authorities to wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat as we approach the traditional beginning of the annual flu season in the Northern Hemisphere is the fear of a twin-demic. After all, influenza is also a potentially deadly respiratory disease. And the idea of thousands of patients or tens of thousands of patients descending on hospitals with flu or COVID-19, or even possibly both at the same time, is one you don't even want to contemplate. So they've been casting an anxious eye on what's been happening in countries in the southern hemisphere, which have been through their own flu season over the last 6 months. The good news is that measures aimed at containing the spread of COVID-19 appear to have also had a major impact on the number of winter flu cases in the southern hemisphere. They've quite literally dropped off the table in countries from New Zealand to Chile to South Africa. The WHO's influenza tracking net has reported, for example, that in Australia, there have been less than 50 confirmed cases of flu since April. For comparison, back in 2019, there were close to 10,000 during the same period. So the flu has practically disappeared there, and epidemiologists are hoping that travel restrictions and social distancing and mask wearing will have the same effects north of the equator in the coming months. But we can't count on it, which is why health authorities in the northern hemisphere are doing everything they can to get as many people as possible vaccinated against the flu before winter really and truly arrives.